I don't understand why people that have hobbies get made fun of so much.
I like restaurants. Is that a hobby?
It's actually crazy that someone wouldn't have a hobby.
Do you know how embarrassing it is to try and explain that you don't have hobbies?
Are hobbies dying? Between things like overconsumption, side hustle culture, and a noticeable level of anxiety, I feel like we're losing the spirit of hobbies. And when I realized this, I began to wonder, how did we get here? Back when I was just a young Jordan, my hobbies consisted of playing with WWE action figures, making videos, and building Lego sets. And that was a glorious time. But over the last few years, there's definitely been a rise in side hustle culture. I mean, there's so many videos about how to make money from faceless YouTube channels, how to make thousands from ghostwriting, and of course, how to make money from selling courses. It's the classic. It quite literally seems like you can't do anything without people trying to figure out a way to make money from doing it. The idea that everything has to be monetized, everything has to make you money, and that doing anything for fun is just a waste of time. And in certain cases, I may potentially agree with that last one, because I remember this one time I saw a guy just learning about plants using this AI app on his phone, and it seemed like a complete waste of time. That was me. I'm Guy. I'm on the hunt for 100 different types of plants using this app. It wasn't easy.
That right there is poison ivy.
And I do think a certain level of hustle is good, but when your whole life becomes consumed by it, I think it can quickly steal your joy. Take this video, for example.
This is how I'm making money from my hobby. I accidentally started a side hustle by joining the Skill a Week challenge. Every week, they send you a creative skill and how to do it step by step. I made candles first, gave a few to friends, then I tried soap, then bath kits. Suddenly, people wanted to buy them. So I set up a little online shop, nothing fancy. Now I make a few $100 a month just from stuff I learned while chilling at home.
This is just one out of a billion different videos like this, but basically there's this whole wave of content teaching people how to make money from doing things that they originally did for fun. And I've noticed a few issues that can stem from this that destroy hobbies. The first issue being that it turns your hobby into a job, and then you no longer enjoy it.
I accidentally turned my hobby into a full-time job. Now I'm booked months out, have a waiting list, and can't remember the last time I had a real day off. #blessed.
Another issue with this I've seen is that once you start introducing external rewards like making money, you start to feel more pressure and then your hobby becomes less fun or not fun at all. Which that could get into a whole conversation about intrinsic versus extrinsic motivation, but I don't want to get into that. Why, you may be asking? I don't feel like it. Anyways, when a hobby becomes a job, a lot of the time it removes the reason you actually started the hobby to begin with. Fun, peace, relaxation. But at some point during that, the people who didn't monetize their hobby started becoming the minority, and it was almost as if you were looked down upon if you didn't try to make money from doing something that you love doing. Between 2010 and 2020, the number of people with side hustles in the United States doubled, but it didn't stop there. Once people started making money from their hobby, they started making content. The moment we started tying our hobbies to content and social media was the same moment that our motivations changed. Instead of doing something for fun, we started doing it for the likes, for the views, or even for validation. So instead of just being happy that we were participating in the hobby, we were only happy if we reached the metrics that we felt like we should be reaching. It started to become a performance, and as our motivation went down, our pressure went up. For example, we make a video and it does well, then our brain gets a hit of dopamine and we expect it again. But then if the next video doesn't perform well and then the numbers drop, so does our motivation. Let's take reading, for example. Whenever I think about reading TikToks or book talk, I like to think about people sharing their favorite books, cool reading spaces, or talking about things they've written. So that's what I generally think of when I think of book talk or reading TikToks. But then there's another side to it that I feel like has diluted the hobby of reading. In cases like this, it seems like the hobby isn't reading books, but instead it's buying books. For example, in this clip, she says she buys books even though she has over 180 physical books that she hasn't read. My brain can't even fathom what 180 books looks like. It probably looks like a lot of books if I had to guess. Or even look at this video where this person is also buying more books than they're reading. In this case, on Book Talk, joy and pleasure and passion is supposed to come from reading. I mean, you're supposed to read books, you're supposed to read the words, take in the words, feel stuff from the words. The words are what make the joy. That's a good quote right there. You can use that on your next essay. But it feels like overconsumption is starting to take over this joy.
A lot of copies of Fourth Wing. I really like this book, and I'm gonna go through my whole collection. It's been a while since I did this, and everyone really liked it last time.
This is the very, very first printing of Fourth Wing that came out. This is the one that I received in PR from the publisher. The scribe arc, which I got from means that will never be shared. Anyone, every single person on the internet knows that I size, and I just learned this morning, but it has the same exact bonus chapters that came in the holiday edition.
Once again, in my opinion, we are looking at another collection that can't meaningfully or fully be used unless you read 8 hours a day for for 4 years. Like I said, for many people, it seems like hobbies have become more about buying things than actually doing things. And one of the primary issues with that is unnecessary waste. According to Clever Real Estate, about 79% of Americans confess to purchasing items that they never use, which I don't know why a real estate business has a study on that, but that's besides the point. So with the online hobby industry being a $22 billion industry, I imagine the number of wasted products is quite high. Let's talk about collecting. So to me, admittedly, the line between acceptable collecting and overconsumption is a little bit blurry. A lot of people have their own definition of it, but simply put, the way I would differentiate between overconsumption and genuine collecting is intention and curation. Take this clip, for example. This creator's name, unsurprisingly, is Funko Daddy, and I'm pretty sure he has enough Funko Pops to take down a small country. And there's a few different sides of collecting that I want to talk about, the first one being using collecting as a way to justify overconsumption. And I'm not accusing Funko Daddy of this, but it's something I have seen a lot of. People will unnecessarily buy a lot of something and then say they're collecting as a way to justify it. But they don't have the intention of a collector, they have the intention of a buyer. And at the end of the day, no matter how you crack that cookie, it leads back to wastefulness. And obviously, companies will keep making things as long as people will buy them. It's like the law of making things. Keep making them if people buy them. But this is destroying hobbies. Overconsumption. Simply put, overconsumption is just buying an excessive amount of something. Let me show you this video. I'm gonna give a totally fair, totally honest, totally objective analysis on this. There may be more skin products here than skin on Earth. Objectively. To a certain extent, I would consider skincare a hobby. I think a lot of people have fun with it and truly enjoy doing it as a form of relaxation. With that being said, I think this video is a prime example of why I say hobbies are being destroyed by overconsumption. Hobbies are becoming about buying, not doing. In this clip that I just showed you, assuming that skincare is a hobby, there's no way all of those products are being used in a meaningful way. And because of that, I think it's safe to make the claim that there's a lot more buying going on than doing. So the joy that is given to you by doing the hobby is now being replaced by buying. One of the main reasons that I think replacing hobbies with overconsumption is bad is because it's getting rid of the sustainable joy that comes from doing hobbies and replacing it with the unsustainable joy that comes from buying. And look, I get that there's an argument to be made here about this being a collection and that collecting is a hobby. I think that is a completely fair and valid argument. You would just have to define the difference between overconsumption and collecting, which to me, the difference would be in the curation and the purpose of what you're buying. Like, are you buying anything and everything, or are you purposefully curating what you're buying? So are you curating your collection, or are you just trying to make it bigger? But even still, I feel like this weird thing is happening where everything is starting to become a collection. And I'm not the police of what a valid collection is, but I feel like this thing is almost happening where people are using collecting as an excuse to overconsume. Take this video, for example.
Want to know what I find most annoying in game collecting? Physical games with digital codes.
First, and most importantly, can we get an F in the chat for this guy receiving a digital code on a physical copy of a game? That is so sad. So sad. I'm crying. But this is what I mean when I say that I think collecting is just getting used as an excuse to overconsume or buy things. Like, obviously this guy gets some sense of joy and dopamine when buying, otherwise he wouldn't do it. I guess then the question that comes from that would be, what makes a valid collection? Like I said, my line would be, are you curating the collection? But then I see videos like this and I begin to wonder if that's even like a good line. Maybe generally speaking it is, but I don't know if in every case it is. Like, I do believe this guy is curating. He's probably not buying duplicate games, but it still seems a little bit excessive to me. Maybe it's just something as simple as the way I value these items is completely different than how he values them. I mean, that could totally be the case. But speaking about collecting, there is another issue, and that's scalpers.
I never understood this. Watch this. Skipping all these shoes, get a bunch of these shoes.
So for people who genuinely collect, or I guess even overconsume, scalpers are a serious problem. And I might be a little dramatic here, but I think scalpers have ruined a lot of hobbies. They'll buy out things like shoes, cards, or even concert tickets, then resell them at insanely high prices. And a lot of the time, they're probably not even genuinely interested in these hobbies, they're just interested in making money. which is pretty lame. So then people who are genuinely interested in the hobby, they get the short end of the stick. They get the little nub at the end that you can't grab, it slips out of your hand. It's just an awful situation. And I think we're at the point where hobbyists are just, they're sick and tired of it because there's so many videos of hobbyists fighting back against scalpers. Blue hat guy was standing on business. He's not messing around. He walked up, snagged the thing, and then walked out. He is a hobby hero if I've ever seen one. And that leads me to another point, which you could say is another external reason as to why people don't do hobbies. Cringe. This one is another pretty simple one, but the idea is that people don't do hobbies because they don't want to be bad at them and then have people cringe at them. Or maybe people will call something that you enjoy cringe and you don't do it because of that. Then TikTok and actually social media as a whole amplify these messages, and so the people calling things cringe gets way louder. But really, let's be honest, cringe is just literally purely a social construct. It is literally a complete social construct. So at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. Okay, do your thing, I guess. I'm a little conflicted here, but I might say that that is cringe. Maybe. But it gets worse. We've created a comparison culture. At least with metrics, that's more of an internal thing, that's more about us. But with comparison, we start tying our value to other people. It used to be where you could do one thing and be happy, but now you'll see a video of someone doing the same thing, but 1,000 times more extreme, and then you'll feel bad about yourself. And the thing with social media too is you hardly ever see the journey, you just see the result. So it becomes super easy to compare your 10 minutes of knowing a skill to someone's 10 years of knowing a skill. Social media just gets rid of any sense of time. And I mean, naturally, we're wired to compare ourselves to the best person in the room, but now the room is the entire planet. I don't know about you, but I feel like that's a lot of people to compare yourself to. And really on top of that, we just have a hard time being bad at things. We're uncomfortable with not being the best. Being bad at something used to be private. Like you could be bad at painting and it was okay because not a bunch of people were gonna see it. Unless for whatever reason, the whole neighborhood busted into your house to judge you. I mean, I don't know, maybe that's happened to somebody. But now the whole world can see what we're bad at. And many of us hate looking bad in front of crowds. So I alluded to this a bit earlier, specifically the idea that hobbies are being distorted by TikTok's algorithm. And this is something I've talked about a whole lot in a bunch of videos, so I won't spend too much time on it. But simply put, this is the idea that TikTok's algorithm, or really any social media algorithm, primarily pushes excessive content because that's what gets engagement and likes and views. And you've probably watched it too. I've watched it. We've all seen it. Okay, we're all part of this little club. For example, I'm gonna show you 2 different videos and you tell me which one you think has more likes. Here's the first video. Here's the second video. Now, how many likes do you think each video has? Well, the first one has 2,194 likes, and the second one has 114,000 likes. But my point is, and I really don't think this is controversial at all, except, you know, this is YouTube, this is the internet, and I'm probably about to make somebody mad. But I think most of us can agree that the crazier content, the more engagement it's gonna get. You know, positive or negative, either way. So indirectly, or in some cases pretty directly, I think TikTok has changed our perception of what normal is. Maybe it changes our idea of what a hobby is, what that hobby's community stands for, or even how we can become a part of that hobby. And all of these things are contributing to the massive $22 billion industry with arguably around 79% waste. Another reason hobbies are being destroyed is because of anxiety. What I mean by anxiety in this case is the fear of being bad. People are so scared to try anything new, to be curious, or even just to be bad at something because we're so afraid of our imperfections being highlighted. And this seems to be something that social media emphasizes even more because really it seems only the most perfect and best things get put at the top, and therefore anything that is below that baseline of perfection isn't good enough.
Just a quick reminder for anyone who needs to hear this, you don't need to be good at your hobbies. For example, my hobby is painting. I am pretty bad at painting.
It seems like any kind of hobby we do can become some kind of performance or algorithm bait, and with the way that social media works, that can start to feel a little humiliating. And according to some studies, this kind of perfectionism and pressure can quickly lead to hobby burnout. And then you mix that in with the natural social comparison that goes on TikTok and social media, and you get a pretty bad recipe. It's a really weird recipe with really weird ingredients, like salt, ketchup, spaghetti, oatmeal. It's weird. You don't want to try it. It's really weird. Actually, one of the top comments in the video I just showed you pretty much said the same thing. Maybe you don't need to be good at hobbies, but I do. I have to be perfect at everything on the first try, or I'm giving up and crying. Thanks, you're welcome. But also, this sentiment is something that's shared by a lot of people, including myself at times. When you fall into these traps, it's not a sign that you're lazy or that something's wrong with you. It's survival. Our brains are made to avoid failure and conserve energy. It is a literal function of our brain. But social media has hijacked it. If hobbies disappear from our lives, what do we lose? Well, a lot more than you think. Hobbies used to be a kind of safe place, a place to be bad at things, a place where outcomes didn't matter, a place where we had the joy of trying without stakes. So without hobbies, we lose that joy. Hobbies also give us what scientists call a flow state. This is a mental state where time disappears, and it's linked to lower stress, better focus, and even improved memory. Without hobbies, we lose that reset for our brains.
Unfortunately, I can't take hobbies lightly because I must be perfect at everything I do.
Hobbies used to connect us. We used to build friendships on our interests and not follower counts. It didn't matter how many people wanted to watch you do something. All that mattered is that you were doing it with someone. Without hobbies, our social circles shrink while also getting louder. If hobbies go away, our identity only becomes about what we do for money. We forget about the part of ourselves that exists without an audience. When was the last time somebody asked you who you are or what you do, and you didn't only talk about your job?
I'll tell you what I've taken on as a hobby. 2 or 3 loads of laundry a day, dishes all day because these kids are all slobs.
I used to spend hours making videos, day in and day out. Not because I was good at it or because it was making me money, but because it really made me feel like me. When I started making everything about what other people thought, when I started only making videos for money, when I got caught in the social media trap, I started to realize what I was losing. But I think there's hope. While I was researching for this video, I saw so many people who are actively pushing back against these issues I was talking about. It was almost as if people started to realize how harmful some of these things could be. That's when I realized maybe the apocalypse that I'm seeing isn't the death of hobbies, but instead it's the death of joyless consumerism. All the endless buying, pointless consumerism, the distortion of hobbies, we're seeing less of that and more of the true joy that hobbies can bring. I think that maybe the most important form of a hobby is the simplest one. The ones that don't require a mountain of supplies, the ones that don't make money, the ones that aren't meant to impress strangers. So maybe we should pick one hobby, don't film it, don't post it, don't try to monetize it. Just be bad and have fun. I'm really good at the being bad part. I've got that down to a T. I'm goated at that. That was, whoa, I don't know, why did I say that? But with that being said, there definitely is a lot of consumerism going on, and I think there's even a pipeline from overconsumption to hoarding, which I talk more about in this video right here, so be sure to check that out if you want to learn more. But other than that, thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.